Hospitality Meets is brought to you by RotaCloud, the simple workforce management software for hospitality teams. RotaCloud lets you create and share rotas, record attendance, and manage your team's annual leave, all in less time than it takes to make a brew. It can also make life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request holiday, and even pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be. Welcome to Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street, where each week we take a light-hearted look into the stories and individuals that make up the wonderful world of hospitality. Today's guest is Chris Eigelaar, Managing Director of the award-winning and world-renowned The Belfry Hotel and Resort. Coming up on today's show, Chris tells us about his relationship with security.
I've had a few near misses and experiences with security.
Phil proposes golf's actual reason for existence. I genuinely think that golf's purpose is to destroy optimism. And Chris gets his own TV show.
I actually starred in, I think it was a 4-part series.
All that and so much more as we chat through Chris's epic journey so far. This chat with Chris has been a long time in the making, but well worth the wait as he drops so much leadership gold. So please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give us a like and a share wherever you can. Enjoy. And a huge Hospitality Meets welcome to, finally, we're doing it, I can't believe it. It's Chris, oh God, see, I practiced and I still didn't get it right. Eigelaar.
Eigelaar, yeah.
Eigelaar.
Don't worry.
There we are. How are you?
Really good, thank you very much. A beautiful sunny morning in Birmingham, so nothing to complain about.
Good stuff. Are you in property today?
Yes, yeah, on property, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice. We've had probably one of the worst winters we've ever had.
No doubt.
So too much rain in the last couple of months, so it's quite nice that we've got a bit of sunshine in the last few days. So fingers crossed, it helps the spirits.
Yeah, well, I suppose there's a balance to be had when you've got a lush green golf course or two to look after, where rain can be helpful, I would imagine, but too much rain certainly not helpful.
Definitely not at the minute. No, I don't think it's. I think if from a record side of it, I think it's the wettest or the most rainfall January, February we've ever had on record at a stage. But in the middle of February, I think there was, it rained every single day from the 1st of January till middle of Feb, which is great because we definitely need it to fill up all the reservoirs, which is fantastic. But we'll be quite happy now for it to stop and for the water level to drop down a little bit. So we can start manicuring the greens and manicuring the course a little bit. So we've got 3 golf courses. So busy from a golfing side of it, and look forward to a very, very busy summer and spring ahead, of course, as well.
Do you get a lot of play? We've actually just kind of jumped straight into this, but we should tell the world what it is that you actually do.
Of course. Yes, I'm the managing director for the Belfry Hotel and Resort South in Coalfield, so just outside of Birmingham in the Midlands.
Yeah, and I would say world famous. The Belfry Hotel and Resort. I think especially in the golfing world, I think there's probably not many people around the world who wouldn't know about the Belfry. But you are, of course, way more than just the golf. But I was going to ask you the question around: do you still get a lot of play in the winter months? Because I definitely would classify myself as a fair weather player for sure.
Likewise, we do. Yes, we do get quite a bit of golf during the winter. It never stops. So what we've seen over the course of the last 2-3 years is that the winters is getting a little bit later, so we can still get, in the last 2 years, we've had the best Octobers we've ever had on record from a playability perspective, which is great. The challenge last year, January, February, was nice and dry, so we had golf buggies out in February, which, anybody that's listening to this from a golfing community side of it will know that it's fairly unique to have golf buggies out in February. So there's still a lot of demand for it. Naturally, it slows down significantly, but there's always demand. And it's demand on weekends, midweeks, from a corporate perspective as well. So as you mentioned, from a golfing side of it, we've hosted 4 Ryder Cups. The last one was in 2002, meant to be 2001, but moved to 2002. But also more recently, we've hosted 5 DP World tournaments as well. So very proud of to be the home of the British Masters, still for this year as well, which is fantastic. And we've hosted it since 2021. 2020, we had a tournament as well, which was the English Open. So straight after COVID, we were very fortunate to bounce back straight into tournament golf. And it's always good to be on the circuit. It's great to welcome the best European players or world players to the resort. And it's great for the Brabazon to be a great test. So built in 1970, but it's still a test for the modern golfer of today.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many iconic moments that I can remember as a golf. Well, I'm a general sport fan, but I also like golf.
Yep.
Watching on the telly, some of the holes on the Brabazon, they are iconic, and I
Yes.
think anyone who plays golf probably has it on their their bucket list that I want to play around.
Yeah, and it was amazing. So last year we invited 4 Ryder Cup legends to play 5 holes, which was absolutely incredible. So led by Sir Nick Faldo, and it was amazing to hear them discuss from, I think it was 86 when they played, or 93 when they played, how they played the course, how well the course has matured, and because when they played it, it was a very new golf course. None of the trees really matured, so it wasn't as difficult to play as it is today. And yeah, some of the iconic shots is Sevi on the 10th, the drive of the, rated by, so Tiger Woods did an interview recently on Sky Sports, and he said that the best drivable par 4 for him in the world is the Belfry 10th hole. So unfortunately, we couldn't snip that. I would love to trademark that, but it's quite a few of us that we heard that and Tiger talking about the Belfry, and the Brabazon, which is absolutely incredible. And of course, on the back of that, we've got 2 other great courses as well. So we've got the PGA National, which is more of the inland links, and then we've got the Derby golf course as well. So again, we challenge, and it's for all golfers, for all different types of seasonal golfers, fair weather golfers, or people that just want to have a bit of a knock, which is nice.
Yes, and this fair weather golfer has played the national. I think it is the national that you do for the IOH Golf Day.
That's the Derby.
That's the Derby. Okay, so it's the properly forgiving one. I think is the one for all ranges, and that's me, the occasional hacker.
Well. I think that the biggest challenge for myself is being the managing director for the Belfry. The perception is that I'm an amazing golfer, but I'm not. So I play off a 24 handicap, 22 handicap. I don't actually have a handicap. So the worry always for me is whenever I get invited to a golf day. I had it 2 days ago. Someone said, "Oh, do you want to join me for this golf day? I'm sure you're an amazing player. Apologies, I'm only in 13 and the 13 handicap." So it's a little bit embarrassing going back to all that every time to say, "Listen, don't worry about it. I'm worse than you. It's going to be a great day on the golf course." So yeah, it is. I've got the right gear and I look like a golfer, but unfortunately, my games, I don't have the game in the bag.
You definitely look like a golfer. I remember on that same golf day, you went out and smacked a few as well, and you definitely had all of the gear. You looked the part,
totally,
for sure.
Very very important in golf.
But you could argue that it's not the job of the managing director of the Belfry to be good at golf.
And that's what I keep telling my ownership. I said, one day if I'm a single handicap and I still work at the Belfry, then you need to really start getting concerned because clearly I spent too much time on a golf course.
Yeah, totally.
So I played a round of golf with Goldman Sachs, our current ownership, and it was 2 of the asset managers, two of the executives. And I said, "Oh, let's go and play on the Brabazon." Teed off on the 5th. So I was standing on the 5th, and I was like, I said, "Oh, I played this hole 2 days ago. I thought I'll warm up a little bit." I said, "It was probably my best birdie ever on this par 4 5th hole." And there's a bit of water on the right hand side of the 5th, literally next to the tee box. And I said, "Yeah." So I said, "I played a great drive, a great 5 iron in, absolutely fantastic." And I felt very positive standing on the tee. And of course, I literally put it 5 meters to the right hand side into the water. And I said, "What can you do? That is golf." Yeah. You absolutely a hero one day, and then you go straight down to zero very soon.
I genuinely think that golf's purpose is to destroy optimism. I think that's but sure. Equally, just keep enough optimism there to say that you only need one world-class shot in a round of about 100, right?
And then you feel like you're Tiger Woods. Yes, absolutely.
Indeed, yeah. Anyway, yes. I could probably just talk to you about golf all day, to be honest, but I'm not going to do that. Before, obviously, you take on this role, it's really, I mean, it's one of the, I think, the most special roles that somebody can have in the world of UK hospitality. But obviously, there's a story on how you got there. So take us all the way back to the beginning of your career. How did you get into hospitality in the first place?
Yeah. And I think you're right. I do deem myself very lucky to sit in a chair and to be the managing director for Belfry. And as I mentioned, alluded to just earlier, so I didn't come by the golf. So golf is fairly new to me in the last 10, 12 years. Hence the reason why my golf game is so terrible. So I started off in South Africa. I was very fortunate. I was born into a family of hoteliers. So this is way back. So my mum was a chef. My dad was a GM of the hotel in South Africa. So we owned 3 properties via family business. And our house, our flat house, was basically part of the hotel. So every single day I was in the kitchen. Every single day I was helping my dad in front of house, in restaurants, and any housekeeping, any hotel bits. So I was almost born into it and loved it from day one. But I also learned a lot from my mum and dad on how they looked after their team, how they build a team, what a close knit family they always were. When someone left and went to a bigger, better role, they celebrated it with the team. And for 5, 10 years after they've left, my mum and dad, the hotel, they will always still be in contact. So I think that hospitality side of it and the real human side of it, I saw that from the early day. And then I worked for Marriott Hotels, so Protea Hotels back home. So I had 2 choices. My dad wanted to send me either to the Navy to become a chef, or he sends me to Protea Hotel to go and be a chef. So at those days, all I wanted to do was to be a chef. I enjoyed cooking. I was doing desserts with my mum and dad every Sunday. So yeah, so it was the chefing side of it was probably first that really got me or wanted me to get into hospitality.
It's a bit of a diversion. On the one hand, hospitality. On the one hand, the Navy. Like, I mean,
Yes.
that's quite there's a wide gap between those two things.
Yeah, I always joke with my brother. So my brother went to university, and by the time I was meant to go to university, my dad didn't have any money. So I had to choose either go to the Navy and look after myself, or go to hospitality and look after myself.
Right.
So yeah, so it's a standing joke in the family. But yes, my dad came from the Navy. So my dad was in the Navy for 5 years, and that's where he got into hospitality as well after he finished his Navy. So he worked for Holiday Inn. So there's 2 things that he wanted me to talk to me about. Was he did his hotel management degree via Holiday Inn in Cape Town, and he worked in the Navy as well. So he gave me those 2 opportunities, and the Navy was the biggest naval base is in Saldanha, where I'm from. So it's a small little fisherman's village, but they had the biggest naval base on part of the town as well.
Right.
So again, it was fairly local to us.
Quite a big employer in the area.
Yes, big employer, and you can see a career path by that side of it as well. But yeah, luckily enough, I went for an interview with Protea Hotels, now Marriott, part of Marriott now. Got a role as a trainee, and it was an amazing course. So what they did was for 4 years, you work in a hotel and you sign up to a contract, and then for 10 to 12 weeks of the year, they send you to the hotel school in Cape Town, where you get the theory side of the practical that you do on a daily basis. So really enjoyed it. Met my GM that is still today was probably a bit of a mentor as well, Carl van der Linde, and started in the kitchen. And he came to me and he said, "Listen, you need to get out of the kitchen. I think you're going to be better front of house.
You can't cook."
Well, I think he sounded very nice to me then. He didn't make it sound like I can't cook, but I think a few years later he told me he was actually a terrible chef. So I had to get you out of the kitchen. So started doing the front of house side of it. Worked at Protea Hotel, travelled around the country. Went to Nice now, which is an amazing garden route. Worked in Cape Town. Worked in Mossel Bay. So travelled with Protea Hotel. So every year they move you to a different hotel in Cape Town or in South Africa. And you live away from home, and you live on site, and it was just an incredible foundation from a hospitality side of it. And on the back of that, I met quite a few people that came over from the UK. So every time I went to the hotel school, there was another group of students that was from Holland and from London, and they started talking about how amazing London is and how the hospitality is amazing in London, and you need to go and see it. And after I finished my degree with Protea Hotel, I applied for a working holiday visa. So you can work 12 months after 24 months. And I came over to London. So £1,000 those days I had to have traveller's checks. So the only way I could actually get into the UK or into Heathrow or past the customs was to show them £1,000 worth of traveller's checks. That's the only money I had, that £1,000, and a return flight. So I had to get my accommodation sorted. Luckily, my brother was here; he helped me a little bit, and then I had to start finding a job as quick as I can. So worked a lot with Barclay Scott, so Good Street. So I was down. I lived down in Wimbledon, Southfields. I travelled to Barclay Scott most mornings. Stood outside the door hoping to get a job that they can send me if someone phoned in very last minute, which worked 3 out of 5 times a week, which helped me with a bit of income. I got some very random roles. I think the most random one was I was a security guard at the Chelsea Arts Club, where I had to wait for a secret knock on the door and to open, the little window to check the ID and allow people in. Right. Did that for a bit, and then very fortunate that I got a role at Sofitel St James. So Sofitel St James, first 5-star hotel, French 5-star hotel in London, and I was part of the opening team that opened the hotel in April 2002. So started in meeting events as a head waiter, quickly worked my way up into meeting events, operations in Sofitel, some great leaders that supported me, great mentors, again, Alison, that's part of Beaumont now, so it really gave me some great support. Within 9 months, they gave me a work permit, so they must have seen something that I'm doing is all right. So I stayed with Sofitel for a number of years. Then after Sofitel, I wanted to take a bit of a break out of hospitality. Everybody spoke to me about contract catering, and I thought, well, contract catering sounds nice. So you work in a bank for a catering company. So I've got a role at Goldman Sachs, who's my ownership.
Full circle.
And I looked after 112 conference rooms for them over 4 buildings. And really enjoyed it. Amazing role, amazing people again as well that I worked with, and I was the hospitality service manager for them for just over 2 years. Because I realized that while I really enjoy contract catering, I do miss hotels. Right. I missed the people. I missed the late nights. I missed just everything about hotels.
It's not often I get somebody on the show who says I missed the late nights. But I suppose
it's where the magic. It's nice, isn't it? It's that late nights where you all come together. You break a conference room down, or you set the conference room up for the next day, and there's so many things that happen that just pulls you together, and it's a great conversation always as well.
Yeah, different atmosphere at night time, right? In a hotel, in any environment, really. And I know that you could point the finger at alcohol playing its part in that, perhaps. But generally speaking, and actually your main bar in the Belfry is a prime example of this, having been the benefactor of its hospitality. Again, at the IOH, the golf day, the atmosphere that evening is always amazing, because you've got a load of hospitality people sticking around.
And we want to make sure it's always fun, and we need to make sure the team have fun as well at the same time. So it's very important for us to make sure we get the right balance. So, a focus from the Belfry side of it is that once you park your car, you don't want to see your car within 24 hours. So you need to just stay on site, enjoy all the food and beverage facilities we have on offer, but also the wellness facilities we have on offer.
Yeah.
So which is quite good. And then just to finish, so I worked for Mint Hotels. I worked for City Inn for a bit. So City Inn went into Mint and into Doubletree.
I remember that.
After that, so I relocated to Manchester. Worked for the Midland Hotel for 3 years, which was probably absolutely incredible. Which is like the Belfry, but without a golf course. So the Midland in Manchester, iconic, built in 1903. Again, very fortunate. I did 4 party conferences, so where we had like a ring of steel around us. So I did 3 Conservative party conferences, 1 Labour party conference, where we were literally on site for 7 days and you couldn't leave. So a lot of security protocols that was in place for that. And after the Midland, I went to work for Lock for very 3 months, very quick, and then the Belfry came calling. So I was very lucky to get a phone call from the then resort director to make me aware about the general manager role that was available at the Belfry, to come for a coffee. And 8 years later, he retired just after COVID, James Stewart. I moved into his role, and yeah, it's been a great 8 years, and as I said earlier, I'm very fortunate and very lucky to sit in this role because it's an iconic property. You feel there's a lot of weight on your shoulders to make sure you make the right decisions for this brand.
Yeah, well, no doubt. And what I really love as well is that the property's not stood still in that time either, right? I mean,
No,
the development that you've put into play, the
yeah,
resort has not seen the like for,
definitely.
well, ever.
So there was an investment in 2014, 2015, about 25, 24 million pounds. But I think to date, the investment that happened over the course of the last 3 years, we invested 90 million pounds into the Belfry, which is totally, it's a massive step change for a business. From October 22, we've literally had contractors on site breaking things down, and of course, we've got these two amazing buildings that came out of the ground. So we added another 149 bedrooms. So we've got 468 bedrooms. Today, we added a 600-seater conference space overlooking the iconic 10th on the Brabazon, floor-to-ceiling windows, which is absolutely incredible space. And then, of course, we built a wellness, a leisure club, which we work with Technogym. So we've got the best kit. We've got a great, yoga, reformer Pilates, amazing family facilities. We've got a 35-meter slide for kids. So we wanted to really make sure there's 90 million pounds we invest supporting, elevating everything we do in the resort, not just a segment. We wanted to make sure that everybody feels and every area in the resort will be touched and was touched. But it's amazing for the team. It was a standing joke for myself. One of my team members, Julie, that's working in housekeeping, she's been here for over 25 years. And I think since I started 8 years ago, we've been promising the team that we will have this investment coming. And up until the day we received the keys, my joke to Julie was, Julie, do you really believe this is going to happen today? And she always used to laugh about it and say, definitely, Chris. I can see it now. I can open a door. We're almost there and getting the keys in September 2025. So it's amazing. We've got so many team members that's been here for our longest standing team member. Is Jason and Janet between 30, so been here for over 35 years, both of them.
Wow.
Which is incredible.
Yeah, I remember having a conversation with you actually around the importance of community integration of a business like yours. Not just about obviously being an international tourist destination, it's about how you really integrate with your local surroundings. And I remember something that stuck with me forever. I've actually quoted this on this podcast before, around the fact that, as a local, one of the major local employers in the area, you've actually got generations of the same family within your hotel, which I just, never thought about that until you said that to me when we met, and that stuck with me because it's such a beautiful thing, I think, to play that kind of role in people's lives.
Totally. And Julia, I just mentioned, her husband Chris works in maintenance. Her son Chris also works in maintenance. So that is one example. But we are. I believe, and speaking to my local MP recently, we believe we are the biggest employer in the North Warwickshire today.
Right.
So over 1,100 team members working for this incredible resort. So
jeez,
fantastic.
Crikey, that is a lot.
It's a lot, yes. We don't need to talk about payroll numbers today.
Yeah. So talk to me about like when somewhere like the Belfry comes a calling. Because actually, if you look in your background, as you said earlier on, there's not a lot of golf flying around in there. It's actually, it's quite a major part of the business, I would imagine, in terms of what it attracts in and how you then have to maintain this, this glorious facility for it to attract the same group of people in.
Yeah, so from a golfing side, so I worked a little bit in golf for Key Hotels. So I was the group F&B director for them for just over 1 year. So they had some old De Vere properties. So I learned quite a lot being the head of F&B for Q of how to make golfers tick and really what they want. And I've always played golf, still not at a very good standard, but so I had an idea what golf was about. But I think one thing that I'm very proud of, and something that I will always speak to my my leadership team about, is that I always made sure from when I joined the Belfry and when I moved into resort director role or my current role, you always surround yourself with the best people in the industry. And I'm very lucky that I do have most probably the best leadership team in the industry. From a knowledge perspective, from a commercial side of it, the love of what we do, the love of this brand. And my role is just to make sure to get the best out of them. So it's not that I know each and every single thing about golf. It's about they trust that they can speak to me about what they would like to do, and ultimately my trust into them to say that I support you and let's go ahead and do what we need to do. So yeah, so that was the most important thing. But also, I think my James Stewart, my predecessor, I made sure that I deep dive into the areas that I didn't know much of straight away. And I worked with James for 2 to 3 years, and I wanted to get as much information from him, from the world of golf, but also from my directors, to understand how do we push things forward. And we've had an incredible golf season the last 3 years. We grew revenue up to about 30%. So it's very, very strong. And the reason for that is because the leadership team knows what's important to this business. They really understand what is important to myself, but more importantly, they want to support one another. That is the most important. That's the real magic from a strong leadership team.
Yeah, I actually had made a note from your kind notes that you very kindly filled out ahead of this. You mentioned 2 words: flat structure, and I thought it's a really good point to kind of go there for a sec, just because I mean there's many ways to run a business, right? But talk to me about the flat structure and what that actually, from your perspective, brings to you, but also the business.
Yeah, what it means to me is that everybody's accessible. It's my door is always open. I'm always on the floor speaking to every single team member. I will know the names of the kids. I will know if they've got a bad day. I will. It's important to me that the team understand what my beliefs are and what my culture is in the business. For my leadership team, it's exactly the same. I always tell my leadership team that I'm one of you. Yes, ultimately the buck stops with myself. Yes, ultimately I will be the one in the firing line if this commercials doesn't really work, or if the operational side doesn't work. I'm very comfortable with that. But the most important thing is that if we in a management meeting or in a senior leadership meeting, we all address one another as individuals. It's not about who brings the money in. It's not about who runs the operation. It's not about who runs rooms or customer analytics. It's we all exactly the same. We all make decisions. We all make the right decisions for the business. And that's exactly the same for me from a management team. Exactly the same as well. So it's so important that the beauty of the Belfry is that there's no head office structure anywhere. I report into the ownership, and that's it. I don't have anybody sitting in London or Manchester or wherever that will tell myself or my team what we need to do. Everything happens on site, and that is the reason for our success is because we walk the corridors, we see the back of house. We in the staff canteen, my leadership team, including myself, we in the staff canteen having lunch, having conversations about the business. And that's the cultural piece that is just so important to myself, that I don't want anybody to feel that I'm anything different to anybody else. That's really serving our guest or looking after our team.
Yeah.
5-star hospitality means having the right people in the right place at the right time, and that's exactly where RotaCloud can help. RotaCloud is the online platform that makes planning rotas, recording attendance, and managing annual leave easy. Its simple, drag-and-drop interface lets you create and share rotas with your team in minutes, while our built-in budgeting tools mean you'll know exactly how much you're spending on staffing before sending the rota out. RotaCloud also makes life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request time off, and pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotocloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be.
And it's very easy to dismiss this as, very simple, and it's a simple ethos, and in principle it is a simple ethos to treat people with respect and to let their voice be heard and let them have a moment whereby their area of the business is theirs, and you're there to support that, not to get in the way of that.
Yes.
And yet, this is still a conversation that we continue to have around leadership in some circles, whereby that top-down approach, as it were. Whereas there's a theory now around, so it should be bottom up. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's I had a good conversation with Frank Arnold Savoy. He used the phrase bottom up. I've used it a few times, but yeah, and we had a good conversation about it. And that's the most important thing for me. It's like, it's ultimately my role is to make sure that my team, being it management, senior leaders, that the team will have the tools to do their role. That is the most important role that I play in the business, and to remove as many barriers for people to work freely. Because sometimes we instill and we put barriers up to make things more challenging for us, even without us knowing about it.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of being on site, is that you can see the barriers, you can have the conversations with people. You kick the tires and on a daily basis when you walk around the resort, and it's that heartbeat that really support us and continue driving us forward. But that's what I saw at the early age of my mum and dad. Phil, that's most probably the best. So growing up, seeing my mum and dad do that in a family business, but also really making people feel like family. That really worked for them, and I believe it's part of our business success, and ultimately something I believe in quite a lot.
Yeah, this always astounds me. This is something I talk about to myself actually a lot more as I get older. That I think we all, whenever you're in a position of leadership or whenever you're in a position of influence, you always want to believe that you are the one that is influencing everything. But in actual fact, the reality is that you've been influenced.
Totally.
And you even mentioned, two people from your mentorship in the early stages. And this is the same in every single journey that I see of people who've gone on to be what the rest of us would perceive to be successful, is that you can recount probably 3 or 4 people who had the right kind of impact on you because they influenced you in the right way, and they set you on the right path, and they made you probably ask questions of yourself that maybe you weren't ready to answer yourself in that moment. And because of that, you're able to step forward. And I'm endlessly fascinated by that. But then the next phase of that, of course, is the duty of care you then have to influence those who are also trying to climb their own ladder.
Totally, and there's a few things along your career path where you look back as well and say that person influenced you very well, or they expected something you which is not in your comfortable zone as such. And you live and learn from all managers you reported into or work alongside, of course, as well.
Yeah, totally. You learn the good and the bad, right?
Definitely.
And actually, one of the other things I loved about what you wrote was around like learning to trust your instincts on stuff, but having the confidence to back that as well, because it's rare, especially if your intention is good and it's full of respect, that gut instinct is going to take you off on a bad path.
Yeah, no, I'm doing this podcast, and I know we've been trying to do this podcast for a number of years, but I'm the biggest introvert you can find, and in the role I have, I'm not an introvert, but behind a closed door, I'm the biggest introvert, and I enjoy my own space and I enjoy my own time. But I think that the real challenge I had for a number of years, most probably I'll say for about 5 to 7 years, was really understanding my management style, because I remember I was at Sophie St. James and we did a MBTI or maybe DISC profiling. And this was way back in let me see where I've got my LinkedIn profile open. So that was way back in 2002. So I had my first management meeting, and people talked about DISC and MBTI, and I didn't have a clue what it was about. Fairly new from South Africa. We didn't use, any of these training tools back then, and we all was in a room. So I was with some senior leaders. I was the most junior leader. I was the newest promoted manager. Only been a manager for about 2 months. They allowed me to come to this management training day. And so, it was some great GMs, some great leaders in there. So I felt very nervous. And they talked about, so we've all filled in this form. And at the end of the form, you pass your information back, and they say, okay, we're going to split you in 4 groups now. And I can't remember, but you've got, there's different DISC profiles, and a D and a S and a something else, I. And they said, okay, all the Ds go to the right. And most probably about 80% of the room went to the right hand side. And I was like, wow, that's unbelievable. I said, and they said, okay, all the I's move to the left, go to the left. And I was the only I that went to the left hand side. And there was a S and an N, I think. And so there was a few people going to S. And so I was standing there being an I, which is an introvert. And I thought to myself, clearly, I'm not going to be successful in hospitality because I need to be a D. I need to be part of that 80% because they're the cool kids. That's where the fun happens. And they never explained back then. They never spent time with me then to say it's fine to be I, because you've got different qualities, you've got different areas that you're better at than a D. Everybody's got good stuff and bad stuff, and you need to just understand what you're not good at and try to tweak that, but also amplify it and really work at the things that you're good at. And so, for most probably about 7 years after that, I really struggled with my leadership style because I was like, I'm not good enough. I need to be more dominant. I need to be more outgoing. I need to always have a voice. I need to always, and it's only most probably when I worked, a bit of work in Q, a bit of it built in Hilton. So I was part of the Hilton Top Talent in 2012, 2011, where I really learned more about DISC. So it took me about 8 to 10 years to really understand that it's fine. Just be comfortable in yourself. And I think that's the reason why I mentioned that on the script, is that just be confident in your own abilities. Trust your instinct. My instinct was always right. I always knew I will be all right in hospitality. Yes, you need to work hard. Yes, you need to have a bit of luck as you go along the way, of course, as well, to get the right roles. But just really trust your instinct. Learn more about your leadership style, but never take it as you're doing anything wrong. All leadership styles is right. It is just it's how you put it into practice that is the most important thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to be around your ability to interact with other human beings who are not necessarily on the same section as you. That's the joy of leadership, is that you get to interact with the whole swathe of personalities that are out there. And yes, we're all taught that being flamboyant and all of that it's wonderful for the front facing element of hospitality, but there's so many other elements to hospitality. And I think that the biggest, I find that quite, that's probably how far leadership and personality profiling has come since that time, right? Is that they just tell you, there's your personality, bye, do with it as you see fit.
Totally, yeah, no, that was it. You were handed a piece of paper, you were meant to stand in a corner, and then you would say, okay, meeting over, thank you very much. You've learned more about management style. I was like, I felt more out of term or out of or uncomfortable after learning more about my management style than anything else.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I've taken a full circle on that. So we've trained in the last 3 years. We trained around over 112 to 150 of our team members on various qualities, leadership styles, and what I've just spoke to you about was always my opening speech to the team about MBTI and DISC profiling, is to say that there's nothing wrong that you're going to learn today. You will be different to the person next to you. It doesn't mean it's wrong. The most important thing today is to learn more and understand what you can do better, but also how your leadership style will really support you in making decisions for yourself on a personal basis, or from a work side of it. People come to me afterwards to say, "Wow, I learned more about me and my wife's arguments that we used to have in the past than what I've learned, when I did this profile, because I can see what she is and what I am, and how we link together or not sometimes."
Well, indeed, indeed. But that's also inevitable, right? It's inevitable. We're human beings. We're not perfect, and there are moments of weakness. But we did insights last year, but also something called IWAM. I don't know if you've come across that one as well. So it's a personality profile of you, but it's also then how you relate within the team. So, and it's really interesting to learn, because nobody's personality is right or wrong, right? I mean, it just is. It's, there's nobody's is better or worse than anyone else's. So understanding how other people are likely to respond to, I'm a high energy, I'm a yellow energy guy. I'm pretty bouncy the vast majority of my life, to be honest, which is too much for some people to take. And I 100% respect that. But understanding that, and equally, there's a guy I work with, Steve, big shout out to him, epic human being. He's at completely the opposite end of the spectrum to me. Does it mean that we don't get on? Not at all. It just means that we have a deep understanding of each other, that I'm likely to come at a problem with X, Y, Z. He's likely to come at it with a different set of letters. Neither of us are wrong. It's a great opportunity for us to learn more.
Yes, absolutely. And how to collaborate and how to get the best out of the ultimate decision you need to make.
Yeah,
totally agree. And we've got, if I look at I did a couple of MBTIs with my leadership team, with my management team as well. And again, it was very interesting to see the different demographic of how we all pull together. And again, we use that today to make everybody understand how to work with one another. There's no right and wrong. It is just, from a guy that's going to procrastinate, just give him a bit of time.
Yeah.
There's no problem to take sometimes a couple of hours to make a decision, where of course your dominant person will want to make a decision straight away and move forward. Yeah. We just need to understand how people work, and ultimately how we can get the best out of it for the business. And that's the most important thing. Ultimately, we need to make the best decision, the right decision, but also the timely decision for the business. And yeah, it really helped us. Some very, very fun conversations we had over the course of the last 2-3 years about it.
Yeah, no, totally. And it can be a fun, it should be a fun exercise, right? Like to learn about your fellow human.
Yes.
There was one line in the latest insights one that I did, which I was like, my God, I mean, this just sums me up perfectly. It was literally, and I openly said this to the team, you can sit in a meeting with Phil and you can all agree a course of action, but he's probably going to end up doing his own thing anyway. I was like, okay, yeah, all right, that's pretty fair. But that's half the battle of these things as well, right? Is understanding your limits and understanding what's and the impact that can then have if you just let yourself be what your profile says.
And being respectful. I think that's the humanity, the human side of it is very important, but also just to show respect to other people's management styles. Yeah. So it's I think that's a couple of things that I've really taken away from it as well, is to say that we're all individuals, we're all different, and it's just being respectful towards every single person's management style, and ultimately putting them together. Yeah. In making the right decision.
And that's the win.
That is the win. That's the magic. Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's easier said than done, of course. There's totally. so many anomalies on a day-to-day and person-to-person basis, but you do your best, and that's all you can do. Just a couple of things. I want to come back to story just before I let you. I'm conscious of your time, so just want to cover a couple of things. Really, I wanted to cover resilience, really, because there's also two things in your journey that happened. Just their world events. I was present for the first myself, and I was also actually working for a contract catering company at the time. Okay. Which was the bombings in London in 2005. Was it 2005?
2005, yeah.
And then of course, and just when you thought you'd your disaster was in the past. You also were present in the Manchester riots as well. So
Yes.
I don't want to dwell on it, but there's usually
No.
stories that come out of resilient moments like this. So yeah, just wanted to kind of talk about your experience of those things.
Yeah, I think the one in 2005, I was actually working for Goldman Sachs, so you can imagine when that happened, working for a large American company. It was there was a lot of protocols, but I think what we did as a contract catering company. So I was working for Compass Group, so Restaurant Associates.
I was RA as well.
Oh, were you? Okay, whereabouts?
It was at the Accenture contract at Queen Victoria Street.
Oh, okay, brilliant. Yeah, so I was in Fleet Street. So is it Phil Roker? Yeah, Phil Roker, I believe. Jeremy, trying to think of who's the chef. Yeah. So yeah, small. Yeah. So it was just from a hospitality side of it, we literally went into lockdown for 24 hours. Our responsibility was to make sure that my food and drink and everything was provided to the teams. Nobody could go home because everything was closed. You must probably remember yourself as well. That time, London was totally deserted. There was like nobody on the streets.
Yeah.
And it was just a total unique experience. But again, what that did from a contract catering side of it, it just brought us all together and really understanding what is our goal. What is our goal in this? So what do we need to focus on? What's our priority? Focus on your priorities. Keep it simple as possible. Communicate. Make sure everybody internally is fine. Make sure your family externally is fine. I think it was very difficult to follow it, most probably then, from a social media perspective and everything as well. So I don't think it's as it was these days.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody was literally piled around a massive TV screens in our
Correct.
cafe area. Is basically
Totally.
The whole office. I think felt like it was in there.
To understand what was happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very, very unique. And as you mentioned, straight off, 5-6 years after that, I was in Manchester for the riots. It was really across the country. So I think the beauty of what happened after the Manchester riots in 2011 was there was a guy called Chris, and he started a campaign called I Love Manchester, and he just started this business. And on the back of that, it's still going today. It's a website. It's a marketing tool. They do a lot of reviews and everything as well. And it was incredible how the hospitality community just came together, but also Manchester. From a people, it was so important for the bounce back to be positive. It was so important to get the city back to normal. It was so important to put a positive message out that we got this. We there to support the businesses. But yeah, our hotel had quite large, big glass windows, which wasn't ideal. So again, went into lockdown. Yeah, not pleasant times. But I think on the back of that as well, I did as I mentioned earlier, I did 3 Conservative Party conferences, one Labour conference as well at the Midland. So we've had quite a few frights and things thrown over fences during that time as well. So as people playing loud music outside the doors to keep as many of the MPs awake as much as they can. So no, there's been evacuations happening because people leave a bag in a corridor and forget about it.
Right.
Unfortunately, there was a team member once. So yeah, no, I've had quite a few near misses and experiences with security and protocols.
But I mean, they're inevitable, right? As well, that's the.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not suggesting that everybody's going to go through their life and experience something of that magnitude, but the moments that test you are going to come and test you at some point.
Totally. Absolutely, and you always learn something of that experience that will stay with you.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is hospitality. It's just the togetherness. The party conference we did there for 7 days. Was probably working. It's not going to be like these days, but was probably working 18, 19 hours a day, 5 to 7 days back to back, because it was just extremely busy and everybody had to get vetted. Everybody had to be on site for everything. Security protocols was quite high, and it's a togetherness because if one person does it, everybody does it.
Yeah.
That's the way it works in hospitality. You always
totally.
lead from the front.
And for me, that's actually a wonderful byproduct of long, hard working hours. And as a benefactor of this, my first ever serious job was in the world of cruise ships. And we work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You're literally 30 seconds from your home to where you work. And you just get, whenever you're called upon, you just say, kind of, yes, boss, let's go. And a lot's made of the hours, and quite rightly, we want people to have balance in their lives for sure. But
100%.
but at the same time, I know, because I have a lived experience of this, that the bonds that you form with people, where you walk through brick walls together, and you experience the highs that come on the other side of that together, and the lows of being in the moment of people with that together, it's very difficult to really quantify that anywhere other than. These people are still friends of mine to this day.
Sorry, absolutely.
Because you can't help but build bonds with people that you kind of live and die with, for want of a less dramatic phrase.
Yeah, you will always have that special place. You will always have that connection of what happened, what the event it was. Even going back to Softail St James in 2002, I'm still good friends with my two barmen from those days, Liam and Craig, and they've all gone on to do totally different things. And but because and again, it was a brand new hotel we opened. So I don't know if you've done any openings before, but doing openings is everything is just elevated as well, because
different gravy.
You're really on the floor doing, taking chairs out of boxes and unboxing cutlery, and then literally within 4 to 6 weeks later, you do gala dinners for 200, 300 people, which is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I don't think there's another industry that can do things like that, which is just insane, and that's what makes hospitality. But I'll also say that these days, from a work-life balance perspective, there's definitely more focus on it. From a business side of it, and personally, the expectations had to change, because unfortunately some of the things did tarnish our hospitality a little bit.
No doubt.
But it's something that I will never take away from. I loved my years in the early years in hospitality. It was just immense.
Yeah, and it can be the exception, and will be the exception, where there's just days that happen like that. But as long as it's not the norm, there are still wonderful life moments come from just cold hard graft.
Wow, brilliant! Totally agree.
Yeah,
totally agree.
And the thing that I also remember of that time, I hadn't really thought about this until you raised it as well, around the 2005, is that in the moment where our central hub cafe was basically home to pretty much everyone that lived in that office in that time, is that politics was eradicated. Like, the politics of business was eradicated. It was just literally, it was so, I don't want to say easy, but it was easier because everybody got out of everybody's way, and and humanity took over. What do we need to do to ensure that we are creating the right space that people need from us right now? Basically, was the overarching.
Simple.
Yeah.
So simple, but effective, and you forget about everything else that's happening around it. It's just what do we need to achieve within the next 24 hours, 48 hours.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I remember the TV screens. Yeah, we were all standing around the TV screens. That was a big one.
Yeah, you don't need those. It's just people on the phones now, isn't it? Just
emails on Blackberries. So I remember the old Blackberry.
Dark times. Dark times.
You were waiting for the little red flash the whole time, and you got an email. So good old days with Blackberry.
Yeah, my goodness. Very quick question before I let you get on your merry way. Have you had a chance to think about a funny story?
I can speak about my claim to fame if you want to.
Oh, wow. That sounds, that's a good setup.
So my claim to fame. So it's and it's not something that I think anybody in the Belfry was probably aware of. But in 2000, when was that? I'll say maybe 2011, 2012. I was working for the Midland Hotel, and there was a documentary on Channel 4 about the Midland. That was life in the Midland, and I actually starred in I think it was a 4-part series.
Right. Look this
Channel 4. I don't recommend anybody to watch it. Luckily, my boss then, Mike McGrain, was the lead, so I was very behind the scenes. But it was very heavily they were just looking for drama the whole time. So we had to do so much things behind the scenes just to create a bit of drama that they can film.
Right.
We did a power cut of the hotel just to again support the animation and
that's
following
disappointing,
people
isn't it?
around. And yeah, we had a power cut or a power outage, and old school Midland building 1903. We've got this massive electrical unit in the basement, and there's one lever that you pull to switch everything on. And what I didn't know, and you can imagine there was filming happening around us the whole time, so probably 3 or 4 sets of cameras, and me standing there with my maintenance manager next to me. And I didn't know that when he pulls this lever, it's going to make one big bang. And nobody told me this. So you can imagine that my claim to fame on this, I think it was the 3rd episode, he pulled the lever, a massive bang, and I just jumped away from this electrical unit thinking something's going to explode. So yes, not my proudest moment, but something I will always remember for the rest of my life.
For sure.
And I won't recommend anybody to watch it.
Yeah, and caught on camera, not bad for an introvert as well, right?
It was, exactly, yeah, absolutely. Caught on camera, yeah, definitely not the right place at the right time.
And if ever there was anything that kind of cemented that principle that you don't know what you don't know, the right there, caught on camera forever.
Absolutely. Ask the question, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
So,
superb.
Yeah. No, good fun.
Brilliant. See, funny story. That's a great funny story.
I know. Yeah, it's not. I don't have that many of them, unfortunately. I'm sure I do.
That's a belter. Brilliant. Well, look, I'm so grateful that we got to do this, and very, very delighted to hear that you're workman free now. You can just kind of get on with being exceptional at hospitality.
Yes. No. Thank you very much for the invitation as well. I know it's taken us a number of years, but yeah, it's I'm glad we had this conversation, and hopefully, the listeners and yourself has hopefully learned something about this amazing resort, of course, that I've got the opportunity to manage at this time. But yeah, truly lucky to be in this role.
Fantastic. Well, I wish you guys all the very best with the next phase and beyond. And I'm sure I'll see you at Back to the Floor in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely, yes. 20th of March, I'll be there in my tiki boat.
I think I might have about 30 quid's worth of donations by now, so get in there.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Chris. And there we have it. So fantastic to get some time with Chris, and what a thing of wonder the Belfry Hotel and Resort is. If you haven't been, I can highly recommend. A huge thanks to Chris for being so free with his time and his thoughts. We will of course be back next week with another awesome journey from hospitality, so have yourselves a cracking week, and I'll see you then.